Welcome to Silicon Scoop, where we dive into the latest tech news impacting the world. Join John Irwin and the Startup Coach as they explore the tech news that matters to you. Stay ahead, stay informed, and now on with the show.
There's a viral blog post going around claiming the feud between Anthropic and the Pentagon is fake news. But the reality is this standoff is completely real and could rewrite the rules of modern warfare. If you think tech companies can dictate ethical bounds to U.S. military, the Department of Defense thinks they're about to prove you wrong. So the Pentagon threatens Anthropic over the rules and guardrails they're putting in place because, they want to use the AI wherever they want. And Anthropic is saying, no, you can't use this in weapons. You can't use it for certain things, for autonomous weapons or mass domestic surveillance specifically. What do you think about this, John?
Yeah, this is my opinion. This is the government trying to flex their muscle. I think Anthropic's right here because here's the thing. Terminator. That's all I have to say. And Skynet. Because that's where this could potentially be headed if the Pentagon is given unrestricted access to using AI. So at the heart of the conflict, just to kind of talk about it, is it's a contractual and ethical disagreement. And it's between Anthropic and the Pentagon. Okay? So Anthropic has built the Claude AI model with strong safety guardrails. Rightfully so, smart, and it restricts certain uses. So particularly domestic surveillance and fully autonomous lethal systems. Makes sense to me, right? Maybe not to everyone. So these safety limits, it reflects the company's philosophy emphasizing ethical boundaries for AI deployment, trying to avoid Skynet. The Pentagon, however, insists that any AI tool it uses, especially within military and classified systems, must be available for all lawful purposes, which it interprets to include uses Anthropic wants to prohibit. And read between the lines, unlawful purposes, if we talk about NSA kind of stuff. So what Pete Hegseth is close to doing is designating Anthropic a supply chain risk, okay, which is a classification usually reserved for foreign adversaries, okay? So if imposed, the label would require all U.S. military contractors, Pentagon suppliers, anyone else linked to certify that they do not use Anthropic's AI tools. So that would effectively push the company out of defense supply ecosystems. So while the Pentagon contract at stake, it's valued at around $200 million, the implications themselves extend further because Claude is widely used across U.S. industry and government. So I kind of threw in some of my opinion there. What are your thoughts on this, Craig?
I believe they're both right. So this is the problem, right? So when I say they're both right, okay, Pete Hegseth, who's the head of the department, you want to call it Department of War, you want to call it Department of Defense, not my issue. I'm a Canadian, I don't care. What he's saying is, okay, if you're telling us it's illegal to use this in certain ways, I need to make sure our department as a whole does not use it, because any number of these things could break the contract and have us in breach of contract, and you pulling the plug on this thing when it's a vital piece of our infrastructure and this and that. So either we need to come to an agreement, or you're telling me that the Department of Defense can't use it because the risk of it being used for surveillance or any sort of part to break this contract. So we need to figure that out. So I agree with Anthropic's moral stance to say you can't use it for these things. Great. And I agree with the Pentagon saying, well, if we can't use it for those things, we might have to declare it this way because we're so secretive. We don't tell each other department what we're using and what we're doing and how we're doing it. We may be breaking the rules. We may be doing things that you'll find out about that you'll be able to pull the plug on. In the end, I think what this does is they literally just save OpenAI.
I disagree with you there, Craig. I don't think it's a matter of security. I think it's a matter of Pete Hegseth wants something that he can use however he wants, whenever he wants it. That's all he cares about.
So you could say that, but that is an opinion. I sit back and say legally, I have, I don't know, let's just say 10,000 people under me doing all sorts of stuff related to surveillance and weapons and whatever, and they're using AI to do all sorts of things, and I'm not knowing what they're doing from day to day. And if Anthropic is saying, I can't do these specific things that previously to this point our department have been doing, I don't want to be in breach of contract. I don't want to be involved with this. I don't want to be turning lawsuits, and I don't want tools to be pulled out from under us that we're using day to day. So we either have to come to an agreement. So we either have to come to an agreement that this is not going to happen and we can use it the way we want, or this is what we might have to do. Hey, you can say it either way, but if this is how Anthropic is putting their contract from a legal point of view, I, as the other party, would have to say, well, if we can't come to an agreement, then we might say we can't use this product in our environment because we are at risk of breaking contract in any number of ways. And it's not fair for you. It's not fair for us to continue in that way. So I think you say what you want, but things are out in the open. We're going to be using it for this. We don't want you to be using it for this. So either we come to an agreement or we break the agreement.
Yeah, but I don't think you're reading this properly. And that's, again, so I don't think that they have the capability now that Anthropic's taking it away. I think they're trying to get the capability they're trying to add that capability is what they're trying to do. So I don't think they have the capability and Anthropic's taking it away.
So I think it's naive to think that all of the AIs are not being used in different forms to do surveillance at a minimum, never mind weapons. So whether that's metadata, whether that's this, whether that. So I think, mass domestic surveillance is happening.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. They're using it regardless of what Anthropic is saying.
Yes. So if that's the case, the only way we either agree that we can use it in this way or we agree we can't use it in this way. And somebody might be pulling their weight around negotiating contracts, whatever. But I think, to me, that's the only way to go. You either come to an agreement or you say, yeah, we got all this stuff going on. It's probably best that we don't. This is your thing, because they're not going to come out and tell you they're doing the mass surveillance. They're not going to come out and tell you they've tried to integrate Anthropic into every AI weapon they've got going on, as well as OpenAI, as well as all these things to see what happens. They're going to say, oh, okay. So when I flip the script on this is saying Anthropic, as we've discussed before, has a better path to profitability. And I think as such, they can take the moral high ground much longer before any shareholders or whatever might come in and complain and try and bump them out of there. So they can, where I think OpenAI has been burning cash. We've been seeing nothing but how they're failing. Their Project Stargate's falling apart. Microsoft's pulling the plug. NVIDIA's not investing nearly as much in them. Everybody's kind of like, oh. This saying, okay, we just opened up a new AI contract with the Pentagon, and I'm sure OpenAI is not going to give it the same moral issues as Anthropic. And that's why I say I think they just saved OpenAI.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah. I think all of them are like we got OpenAI, Google, and XAI. I think from what I hear, they've lifted their ordinary safeguards. So just Anthropic's kind of standing ground, which I like.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with companies being moral and standing their ground. We know somebody's going to jump in and take the contract and go. So I'm
question for you though: should it not be Congress and not the Pentagon alone that should be setting the clear rules for military AI use?
Well, I mean, in the lack of direction, law, point, that kind of stuff, what do you do? I don't think they've come out and said you can't.
No, I know. Yeah, the absence of like a formal regulatory framework is what's creating this room for these disputes to escalate unpredictably like this.
Well, I'm going to put on my cold-hearted hat and say, if I was running the U.S. military, I'd be working with AI left and right. I'd be finding out what the limitations are, where we can use it. We know that the enemies are using it. We talked about the China's infrared AI maneuvers that automatically beat humans. They have to be able to fight it. They have to be able to defend. So I, as a individual in Canada, don't want AI fighting wars. However, pragmatically, I think it's inevitable. And I think if you don't have AI in your weapons in the next 20 years, you're doomed to lose whatever the next war is. So I don't know what balance there is. I don't know what checks and balances there should be. People can call me crazy or a warmonger or whatever. But like in football, the best offense is a good defense.
Yeah.
Or the best defense is a good offense, depending on the way you want to say it. So I don't like it, but they have to have something, whether they want to develop their own stuff that should be private. Yeah. So, and every company in this area is going to stake their claim for doing different things. If it's not OpenAI, XAI's in there saying, hey, military, we'll do that, because Elon's all over the military contracts to do anything. So, it's going to be somebody. And so I don't know if there really is a moral high ground overall. It's nice to see that a company has a moral high ground and they decided we're not going to be involved in this. Other people may, and we know that's where the world is going, but we are going to stand apart and do this other thing. If they continue and it works out for them, that's great, because I hope it does. But we'll see. Yeah. I'm really interested to see where this goes.
Yeah, me too.
And so if your business relies on DoD contracts, and Anthropic's API, you might need to start testing alternative tools like Gemini or OpenAI today to hedge your procurement risk, depending on what's going on with these lawsuits and what they're doing. The clash between Anthropic's safety guardrails and Pentagon's demand for unrestricted AI use will define the military-industrial complex for the next decade. Should AI companies be allowed to tell the military how to use their tech, or should the Pentagon have total control? What are your thoughts? This goes back to the same thing. If you buy a PlayStation, do you own it or do they own it? Are you allowed to do what you want to, or someone else allowed to do what you want with it? Who owns it? And where morally do you draw the line? Mm-hmm. Would love to hear what your thoughts are, because I don't think this question is going to go anywhere. And I think there's going to be only more and more debates about it.
Yeah, I agree. Quick update. Breaking news.
Yeah.
The U.S. military has signed an agreement with Grok, XAI, after Anthropic.
Well, it was my second choice. I see OpenAI would be in there, but Elon's known for it.
Yeah.
He's known for being able to pull those contracts, and there you go.
Yeah, I don't know if you can cut that into the end, but that just came out this morning, so I missed it.
Tired of drowning in repetitive tasks while your competitors race ahead? Every minute you spend on manual data entry, scheduling, and routine processes is a minute you're not growing your business. Flowgrammer.ca transforms your workflow chaos into seamless automation. We build AI-powered systems that handle your busy work so you can focus on what actually makes you money. Our clients typically save 15 plus hours per week and see their productivity double within 60 days. Visit flowgrammer.ca for a free automation audit. That's flowgrammer.ca. Stop working in your business and start working on it.
What do you got going on, John?
Just plugging away, helping companies with government funding, attending events, probably startup drinks or Flowgrammer events. How about you, Craig?
Lots of stuff going on. I honestly don't know when this is going out. I have to check. I think it's going to go out in April. But there's all sorts of stuff going on. If you don't know about OpenClaw, it's the latest AI automation agent that's taken the world by storm in 2026. And OpenClaw Toronto chapter just launched. and we have all sorts of events going on. So check out openclawto.com. Our first demo night is April 14th. We have a Builder Cafe on April 10th. We have a bunch of other events. There's updates every day. We've deconstructed the latest 2 betas over the weekend that was launched in OpenClaw and what you should do about them. There's a bunch of articles over there. Go check that out. We're also over at flowgrammer.ca where we do N8N automations. We run the Flowgrammer community and do Builders Hub and connectivity for AI and business automation agents. And for everything else, head over to TorontoStarts where we hook up startups and investors at our Startup Investor Drinks. We do mentoring, we do workshops, we have a list of investors. There's a whole bunch of content over. You can also book me over there if you want a meeting with me to talk about whatever, help your startup. Check out TorontoStarts.com. But John, if people are looking for non-dilutive funding, where should they go and what is that?
Yeah, non-dilutive funding. We're talking government grants, tax credits. Come find me on LinkedIn if you have any questions. Right now is shred time, SRNED. But come reach out to me too if you've got a startup, if you've got a company, reach out to me if you have any questions. And if they have company questions about their startup in general, where do they find you, Craig?
Yeah, find me at TorontoStarts.com. But John, just before we go, something's open right now, and it's closing May 31st. Thank you. Can Export. And what?
Yeah. So
what
if
should
you have
people
at
know
least
about that?
300,000 in revenue in the previous year, and you're looking to expand outside of Canada, reach out to me, and we can put together. We can talk about an application for Can Export.
All the links we talked about will be in the show notes wherever you're watching this. Thanks for watching, everybody. Leave us a comment, give us a like, give us a subscribe. We really appreciate it. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for tuning in to Silicon Scoop. We hope you enjoyed this episode's dive into the latest tech news. Stay connected with John Irwin and the Startup Coach on LinkedIn and subscribe for more insights and updates. Until next time, stay ahead, stay informed.